Mr. Governor, thank you very much. This is your Lagos, the governor has said. And I'd like to start this conversation by telling a little story. Business Day is based in Apapa,
Yes.
in Lagos.
Yes.
I don't know why you are laughing, but I can tell you, in 2019, and before then, it will take me up to 3 hours to get to Apapa from Ikoyi. And there were days on my way when I will be called from the office and I will be told, don't bother.
Mm.
And so the governor will recall that when we had the interview which I moderated, hosted by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce before the election in 2019, Apapa dominated that conversation. I don't know how often you go to Apapa, Mr. Governor, but I take between 23 and 27 minutes these days to get to Apapa. And when I have appointment with people, they often will get to the office before I get there because they will make so much room for traffic and they don't find any traffic on the way. So they are there waiting for me in the office. So, Mr. Governor, I want to acknowledge the work that you have done and to commend you and your team for delivering on your promise. Thank you, sir. Let me start by asking you, COVID defined our lives and our businesses in the last 2 years. Can you provide for our audience a status report about COVID in Lagos and what you are doing to help recovery of businesses that were hammered in the last 2 years?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Frank. And I want to also put it on record that at the risk of my entire political collateral, if I dare say, I did assured Frank at that debate session that we will do everything we have to solve Apapa traffic. I'll say to you, sir, we're not completely out of it yet. We know that we will say we've done 70-80%, but there's still a critical 20% that will make it enduring and sustainable. Because indeed, we still get flashes, which I monitor on a daily basis. If I show you my phone, I have gotten today at 7:30 to 8:30, I have gotten about 20 pictures of what Apapa traffic looks like this morning. So on a daily basis, I make it part of my devotion. Once I get up and I talk to God, I will check what is happening on that corridor. It's not because I don't have other important things to, but because of the commitments that we gave, and we said that these are our citizens, and so they know, the officers and the team that we set up, they know that I will see it before 8 o'clock and that I will ask them questions. Part of the things that had happened to us is that, governance have lost so much trust that indeed people find it difficult to be in reality that indeed they implement what they say they will do. And so we still have a lot of work to do to ensure that. But like I said, there's still a 20% that we must continue to do. And what are those? We need to fix the infrastructure on the bridge. We need to know that even the security operatives that are there, over time we begin to change them so that they don't get compromised and we're working with the various unions that are on there to ensure that all of the laybys and the garages, the trailer parks that were meant to be providing for them, that will get it, to the level in which they can all stay, on the trailer parks. The call-up system is working, but it can get better. The final solution on Apapa will be when we complete the Lekki port, which will indeed be able to take off some of the load and the traffic off the Apapa, because indeed, given the years that the port has stayed now, it has actually outlived, the pressure of what is being done in both Apapa and Tinkan has outlived their capacity. So as a nation, we need to be able to, raise more investment, raise more infrastructure, and that's one of the things that the Lekki port will be doing. So whilst I want to acknowledge and thank you very much, because we didn't lose our friendship because of our Papa, I want to assure you that it's still something that we're not living on the, my tracking module, and we'll continue to ensure that we give succor to our citizens, because it's only when we do that that we can improve, the quality of life for our businesses and for our citizens. Regarding COVID, 3 things that from the beginning that I believe that we did fairly well, we call them the 3 C's, which is coordination, collaboration, and communication. So when we say coordination, we were very, very quickly, very, very early in the day, like I said, just about 2 years ago. In fact, we started that coordination before we got the first incident case on the 27th of February. We had set up, an incident command, like a control and command center, where we knew, what each and every one of us needed to do, me as the incident commander, right? And we had even crashed our cabinet into a war cabinet. From a cabinet of about 42, we have reduced it to 8 or 10 of us. And we said, for whatever reasons, if the 42 cannot meet, whatever the 10 of you or 8 of you decide, go ahead, just talk to us, because we knew that something was coming. So the coordination started because we wanted to be able to procure, and respond very, very, very quickly. So we have given ourselves that essence of coordination. We also started communication very, very early. You could see that all throughout, those early days, there were almost every day or every other day, information as to what we expect, what we're doing, whilst we don't even have all of the answers. But just the fact that we're communicating and we're collecting and we're talking to our citizens, it made them, believe us and, trust that indeed we're on the right track. The third one was collaboration. You could see what we can do when we all collaborate together. From, the media, which your organization was part of, to all of the other, big, private organizations, CACOVID, for example, we're able to raise and do extensive, infrastructure upgrade with collaboration, So what we don't have control over, we don't necessarily have to ask them to give us money for it. You just go get it done, right? And partnership was the order of the day. So we had partnerships, we had collaboration, we had extensive engagement, we had a lot of communication, and so we had, what we call, extensive surveillance, collaboration. And it gave the state the opportunity, like I said, even at that time, to quickly wrap up the infrastructure. We're able to use technology, data, to be able to drive some of the indices that we're seeing there. When we started and we said that people should fill forms at the port and rest of it, it became difficult for us to be able to track people, because once they get into the system, they can disappear, go to Ibadan, go to Akure, or stay in Lagos. So we said that data was one of the critical things, So we're using code telemedicine to monitor people. Once we have a correct telephone number, at least we can call you 2-3 times a day to know how you're faring, and all of that. And as we go and we understand, how the pharmaceutical, tendencies of the virus, we said to ourselves that, whilst we don't need to have extensive, hospitalization, we needed to be able to give people, kits, what we call the medical kits, where they can indeed, self-isolate and take their medicine, and we can monitor them. And so we are the only ones. We did over 300,000 medical kits that were free that we're giving to our citizens, so you can have all your medication, you can have your thermometer, you can check all of the things you need to do, and we can monitor you and check. So that was why even as the epicenter, because about 50% of the total positivity in the nation was in Lagos. That was why we're able to, manage, each of the spikes or each of the waves that we have. The wave will go up and we'll be able to peak and begin to come down. And so I want to tell our citizens now that, like I said, about a week and a half ago, we completely came out of the fourth wave. The fourth wave was actually very interesting because it gave us the highest level of positivity. Positivity means that what is the percentage of, maybe if you do 100 samples, how many positive do you have? During the fourth wave, we got the highest. We're getting percentages as high as 40%, 35%, because the Omicron was extremely very contagious. So, but we're able to manage, the outcomes of it in terms of, oxygen that was required, in terms of hospitalization, and we're out of it now. It's less than 1% now. So the curve has been completely flattened out. So during the peak of it too, what we're doing then, we're having extensive communication and conversation with the organized private sector. All of the major fast-moving consumer goods, we're having bi-monthly meetings with them on Zoom, telephone conversation, where we are assuring them, to ensure that all of their critical components in their supply chain were not disrupted. We could give them direct access, to go to the port, to go and do their supplies and rest of it. And the assurance that we give to them that they will not, be disrupted on the road, on the condition that they were going to assure us that they were not going to retrench anybody. Because we said to them that we need to keep our people in jobs. Yes, your profitability might dip, but please let's keep people in employment. So those were collaborations that we were able to give to them, and some of the things that are within our control we lent to them so that they can, all come out of it or stay strong during the process, so that, as well coming out of it, they could see that, it was a government that indeed, was with them during the very difficult, time. So those are some of the lessons and the learning, that we all had, during that period. But we're not completely, losing track of it, because it's still a very, very, very dangerous, virus. So we still continue to ask ourselves to continue to keep the non-pharmaceutical protocols, as it were, as possible as we can, understanding and appreciating that, we will continue to wrap up our surveillance. We'll continue to develop capacity within our health infrastructure. Indeed, I must say to you that we're planning to build Africa's Infectious Disease Center in Lagos, where we also, in future, we don't know when, when another type virus do show up, we also should have labs that we can very quickly, do prognosis, we can do extensive, diagnostics, and we also can respond. We're also looking to have, an health-free zone where we can produce vaccine. Let us be able to domesticate, some of these things, so that others in other clans will not just come and bring things through. So we're learning extensively, and we're developing the capacity, for us to be able to, ensure that, in future, Lagos and indeed Nigeria can respond quicker and faster to a pandemic of the type that we've seen. So that'll probably just stop there for now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. I want to, for many of the business leaders who are gathered here this morning, and even for those who have joined us online, the points you have made about the expected coming on stream of Dangote refinery, the deep sea port, will resonate with them. But it also creates anxiety in them as well, knowing the history of traffic challenges in Lagos. So I'd like for you to assure our audience about what the Lagos State government is doing to ensure that what is easily a blessing in the commissioning of the Dangote refinery and, of course, the deep sea port does not or do not become a nightmare? I know that your government is on top of it. What exactly are you doing that can reassure business leaders and investors in Lagos?
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll take it from two angles. One, so we have a transportation master plan in Lagos. And the master plan is for us to be able to utilize the three major modes of transportation. The road infrastructure, which typically now takes about 90–95% of all movement. You know, the waterways infrastructure, because we're blessed, 1/3 of Lagos is water. You know, all of the creeks and lagoons that we have. And thirdly, the rail infrastructure, because cities of this size of Lagos, everywhere in the world, you know, they must have a consistent mass movement of people from one corridor to the other. The third one, which is the rail, is the one that we have not, you know, fully developed yet, and I'll talk about that later. But we have on the master plan 7 rail infrastructure that have been designed, and one of them is the orange line or the green line is supposed to go to the Lekki Free Trade Zone corridor. You know, we're completing extensive feasibility study on it to make it a bankable, you know, or concessionable, you know, transaction. You know, the two others are the ones that we'll talk in the course of our conversation here. So there's a blueprint, there's a plan around transportation, you know, movement in Lagos. But to speak, you know, strictly to, and so on the waterways as well, we're building about 15 jetties or 17 right now concurrently in different parts of the city where, you know, ferries can move, you know, from one part. We're dredging, you know, we're also improving security, you know, and navigational system on the waterways so that we can de-risk and reduce pressure on the road BRT lanes that, you know, that we have, you know, and there's so many things that I even talk about on BRT. It's new things that you've not even seen that we're bringing. But to your question directly, on the Lekki Free Trade Zone access, so what you see is, for people that know the place, there are 2 critical roads. There's a road in front of the refinery and the deep sea port, right? But the road busts out onto the Lekki-Epe Express Road, right? So what we see, or what we're expecting, is that a lot of 70–80% of the things that will be coming out from the ports, you know, and the refinery will be things that will be getting out of Lagos. So how do we ensure that they don't make a left turn and start coming into Lagos, except the one that is needed for Lagos? They should be able to make a right turn and get out of the city and the state and go to other parts of the country. So what we've done is, and I'm sure people here have passed on the road, we're building an 18-kilometer from a 2-lane to a 6-lane rigid pavement concrete road. That road will be completed by April, right, this year. It's about 80–85% already. I'm sure a few people in this room will have also plowed the road. It's 3 lanes on both ways, and the concrete, it's about this height. So we believe that the pressure, for example, coming out from the trailers, the tankers, will be, you know, will be sufficient enough to be able to carry, you know, the load. So once you take all of that into Epe, we're doing extensive reconstruction on Epe, and we'll have, you know, an express road from Epe straight to Ijebu-Ode. Thank God, you know, our brother in Ogun State too have done their own part. That's one of the roads the Mr. President just came to commission. So from Epe to Ijebu-Ode is express road. 3 lanes is brand new express road. So you can indeed, from the refinery or from the ports today, you know, drive to Shagam Benin express road in less than 40–45 minutes. And so from there you can decongest, going towards, you know, northern part of the country, going towards the eastern part of the country, or wherever you want to, you know. And so we have saved the Lagos that pressure. So, you know, from a strategic planning point of view, we believe that is one area in which we have solved. The phase 2 of the road that we're doing is to now make a left turn and have the same, you know, infrastructure coming towards Ajah, where we want to do extensive redevelopment. So that once you come in there, you know, you'll see relief. The future plan of that is that the 4th mainland bridge that we said that we will be breaking the ground by the grace of God before the end of the second, you know, quarter, right? It's supposed to start off from somewhere in Ajah, which is in the Badore. That one should lift you, cross water. You don't need to enter Victoria Island, Ikoyi, if you don't have any business there, and take you towards the Ikorodu end of Lagos. You know, that's the plan. So you will it's a 37-kilometer road. It will just take you across, and you don't have, but it's only people. So it reduces the vehicular movement until people that truly need, they will be the ones that will continue. So there's a grand plan around those massive infrastructure, that is coming, on stream. So I want to assure, our investors, I want to assure, our citizens that yes, whilst all of these investments are required and needed, to spread out development, that the Lagos State government and some of our private sector partners are indeed thinking through how we'll ensure that we don't recreate a problem, an Apapa type problem that might just, make everything look, that we're planless. We're planning, some might be far ahead of others because, these are investments, and these are also, public funds that we need to be able to manage and know that, right now it's critical for us and we need to deploy those kind of investments. So we're on the right track. We're believing that will happen, and if you want me to talk about the entire citywide transportation plan, that is another conversation.
I think it would be good for you to talk very quickly about the red and the blue lines that will be commissioned this year.
Yeah, like I said, so we have on the master plan 7 rail lines, and one of them will be going to the free trade zone. Is one of the plans that we have, right? And the 2 that we're pretty excited about that is nearing completion is the red line and the blue line. The blue line has been on our table for quite a while. My predecessor started it. I was in government actually when we conceived the idea. It was a very difficult conversation then. We needed to do, take a right of way to do a 10-lane highway, which is the Badagry, the Lagos Badagry, express road, which is an international, highway to western part, to the West African part of the continent. But we were smart to take a rail corridor in the middle, which is now, the blue line. So the blue line, is a 37 kilometer from Okokomaiko to Marina. The phase 1 of it is what we're launching now, which is from mile 2. Itself has a huge traffic to Marina. So the last station in that is the Marina station, which right now it's about 65-70% completion. The Marina station is going to be the biggest. It's almost on 250, meter length, right? And we're believing that it should be ready by the 3rd quarter. That's the station itself. So we'll take you up the way to Marina. That will be, an electronic run train infrastructure. The second one is the red line. The red line is also a very smart one, on the existing NRC corridor, which was the old Lagos corridor for some of us that have lived in Lagos, So we have that corridor from Alagbado, which is the outskirts of Ogun State, up to Ebute Metta in the phase 1 of it. The phase 2 of it will take you from Ebute Metta to Ido and also come to Marina later, which is which will have a lagoon crossing as well, which is pretty heavy capex. So we'll do that, as phase 2. But the phase 1 is good to go. So we're building the rail line, and we're building, the terminals as well. As we speak, we're building 5 overpasses, vehicular overpasses, right? And we're building the stations as well. There are 9 stations that we're building concurrently, and we're monitoring to ensure that we can deliver. So if you go to Apapa Road, if you go to Yaba, if you go to Ikeja, if you go to Iju, you'll see vehicular overpass. We're building bridges so that the trains can go underneath and vehicles can move, on top of it. And we're at the last stage of the procurement for the rolling stock. The whole idea is for government to stimulate it. The final point is for us to get concessionaires that will bring a lot more rolling stock, right? And they will take over the comms, and the signaling and the ticketing, and they can run it, fairly profitable, so that, our citizens can get the full benefit, of it. We're still on track to ensure that at the fourth quarter of this year, we should be able to start doing testing, because you need to do extensive testing for security, safety reasons before you begin to get passengers, on board. So our promise is still the last quarter of 2022, for testing and commissioning. First quarter 2023, Frank, you and I need to hop on the train, and see. And the beauty of our transportation master plan is that we're getting a solution where the rail, the waterways, and the BRT can have a single payment solution. So you don't need to begin to check your pockets. Do I need to have money? Once you have a card, you should be able to hop in and hop off. In all of the models.
Minders are telling me we are running out of time, and I'm also mindful of the fact that Mr. Governor has other commitments ahead of him this morning. But let me ask that you conclude by speaking to the investors who are here and those who have gathered online from around Africa. How much is the Lagos economy open for business?
Well, thank you very much, Frank. We believe that we pride ourselves that we're the biggest economy right now. But it's not just a mouth say. It's because we believe that the market is here. We believe that what we're doing as a government will continue to deepen that private sector relationship. We as a government do not have all what it takes. We believe the engine of growth are the private sector. So that's why we must continue to have policies and programs that can give you the opportunity to do that which you know how to do very well, which is business. So our job is to create that enabling environment for you to strive, for you to thrive, and for you to do well. And what are the things? Ensure that you can move from one part of the city to another. You can indeed have a government that is accessible to you. We're building technology infrastructure in the telecommunication space, for example, fiber optics, so that when the telcos want to deploy their fiber into your various businesses, right? The infrastructure already, it's there. That's what we're doing, the 3,000 and the 3,000, infrastructure, so that we can see, a last mile into your businesses, because we believe that that is the future, of businesses. We're ensuring that we can have a seamless one-stop shop, even in Alausa. We're not there yet. We know that there are still issues around, construction permits and all of it. And so we're trying to tick the box. We'll just procure another software where from the comfort of your room, we're believing you can submit all your, approvals for construction, and you can track and monitor yourself. Hopefully, within the time set line, within a month, you should get your approval. That is the kind of standard we're trying to get to. Similarly, for your land transaction, it's always very difficult. We're having to do the very, very difficult, body lifting. Ensuring that we clean up, our registry department, where approvals, and your consents, and your CFOs will be, those are the kind of things that the ease of doing business want to see. You don't have to come to Alausa if you don't need to come to Alausa, and if you do come, you must have, a very, very, fruitful experience. Those are some of the things we're charging, our civil servants to do, and we'll continue to do all of the other things, in poor environment, in health, in education, because that is also important. We need to be able to educate all of the citizens that are here. So we're collaborating with the private schools, with public schools. For example, our rate of pass of WAEC, to see our investment that is showing, last year it was under 40%. This year we moved to 76%, the highest ever in the country and in the state. And we believe these are numbers that we can keep because of the level of technology we're using, examination, monitoring for our students, for everything. And health, I cannot say it all, we continue to raise it back, so that not only you, businessmen that are thriving, but your staff, your employers are also, at the stage in which their heads are relaxed, their children can go to schools, they can have, access to health infrastructure. We'll have our health insurance scheme. We believe in that the numbers are still below. We should push and push and push so that the health coverage can cover a lot more people. And so these are some of the things that we believe will help the resilience of the city and make the city livable and be very competitive, where you can benchmark the city with other big players, of the kind of numbers, that we have in the world. There are some things that are not within our control, but we're boxing everybody, we're pushing them to ensure. Power, for example, but we're ensuring that even as difficult as it is, we're having a conversation with the two discos, and we're saying that our people need to have this thing. We need to bring down the cost of doing business in this part of the world. We need to do it deliberately, and they're listening to us. We're putting our own scheme in the game as well. We're ensuring that they can provide minimum 22-hour power in some other parts of the state, and that has also started. So I want to say to you that this is the place to be. The number speaks here, the volumes are here, and you'll have your government that will certainly, handhold you and ensure that, everything works well for you.
The governor said something about the Fourth Mainland Bridge, which is a very critical piece of infrastructure in Lagos. but it also opens a new world of opportunities for investors in Lagos. So you must be asking, where is the map for that bridge? Where is it starting? Where is it ending? How do you take position before others come and run you out of business? The governor has also said that the green line running to Lekki, Ekpe will be bankable, and it will be something that I believe the Lagos State government will be opening up for private investors, whether by way of concessioning or even direct involvement in building. Without any question, Lagos is open for business. So join me in thanking our governor immensely for the time that he has spent with us this morning. Let's give him a standing applause, please.